I can see your slides, Nick, and I can hear you.
Sounds great. All right. Well, folks, we're live. Thank you for joining us. We're going to go ahead and just quickly check to make sure everyone else can hear us okay. If you can just go to the questions box and say, hey, Nick, we can hear you, we can see you. I love how this little thing is flattening my hair. Finally had a good hair day. And everything got messed up just now. What are you gonna do? Folks, if this is the first time you're joining an exclusive webinar, please go to the questions box and introduce yourself. Just what's your name? What company are you calling in from? Let's see who's new here. I see some new names. See if you'd be bold enough to introduce yourself, please. In this questions box, we have a lot of return. Hey, Jim and Steph from Burt's Bikes. Hey guys, how are you? Thank you for joining. Burt's Bikes is a great name. All right, who else is new here? Got Paul from Evan Moore. All right, Evan Moore team, hello. Thank you for joining. Always love having you guys join. Dee from K2 Scientific. Sounds pretty cool. Wonder if that's skiing or science. Carrie from Brand Cycle and Fitness. All right, we got Burt's Bikes, a Brand Cycle and Fitness at the head here. So cool. Folks, a lot of you just joined in the last few moments. Hello, how are you? Thanks for taking time to meet with us before the holiday season picks up like crazy again. Before we all get that very well-deserved break. If you are joining for the first time to an exclusive webinar, we're just asking that you introduce yourself, please. We got Jim and Steph from Burt's Bikes, got Paul from Evan Moore, but Paul's been here before. Dee from K2 Scientific, we got Carrie from Brand Cycle Fitness. Who else is new here to an exclusive webinar? The last one of the year. We do this about every 2 weeks, by the way. So please do join more. And we always start 2 minutes in. So it is 2 o'clock, you're on time. A lot of people are still firing up their GoToWebinar, so we'll just give them a few moments. Has everyone been able to hit their goals for BFCM and for the holiday season so far? Please share your successes or horror stories if you've got any in the questions box. A lot of people just joined. Hi everyone, thank you for joining. We're gonna get started in 1 minute. Start at 2:02. Just to give people some time. Dennis, glad to hear that you guys hit your goals for the season. Hope everyone is in the same boat there. What a great season it was. Well, when I say it was, I mean BFCM. Hey Phil, how are you? All right. Folks, as soon as it hits 2:02, we get started. I've got 48 slides. I'm probably gonna go through in about 35, 40 minutes tops. Giving everyone a little bit of time to ask questions as we go along. It is 2:02, so folks, this is gonna be recorded. It's already being actively recorded. We'll send out a recording, we'll send out a PDF. Take notes if there's something that really rings true and you just want to look at it later, but you will get the whole PDF later as well. So we thought a lot about how do we go into 22? What kind of advice should we impart? We do this every year. We go in with an e-com guide. We really challenge ourselves to think about what advice is going to drive the most performance and growth for the type of clients we have, the type of challenges we're seeing from people who are not clients yet. So hopefully we've got advice that you guys can follow, maybe even encourage a paradigmatic shift for you in terms of how you're approaching marketing. So just real quick intro. My name is Nick Rajpal. I'm the VP of Marketing Sciences here at Exclusive. I joined in 2008. We were a project-based business. I helped develop our solutions, SEO, Google Ads, conversion testing, email. I helped develop our strategy team, which kind of brings all these channels together. Exclusive was already the first online retail agency and growing fast. We've continued to grow really well. In the last 12 years, we've been on the Inc. 5000 10 times, and we are currently top 5 ad spend managers on Google, largest ad spend managers on the East Coast. And between all of our teams, we have about 250 employees. And here's a handful of our clients. I do want to just give a shout out to our partners. A lot of the insights I'm going to bring to you today, we wanted to have good hard numbers for you on our recommendations. They're provided by our partners and from partner webinars throughout 21. We did webinars with partners. 22 will be even more intense. So hopefully you join us. Fundamentally, we're going to talk about a lot of ideas that seem very ethereal and difficult to bottle. You're right in believing that, but marketing has to continue to shift, and data science is allowing us to do that. So just understand that some of the things that we're talking about today do work better with our systems, because in our system we bring Google Ads, Bing Ads, Google Analytics, Facebook Ads, Amazon Ads, the back end of your store's data, your email provider's data, all that data into one system, and we're able to kind of look at the data together. Anyone can do it. We just happen to have built it for real-time scenarios, and we've created marketing intelligence dashboards that just bring the data together the way we want to see it. That's then populated as workflows if we believe the data should be actioned. The workflow reports go to the right people so that it can be actioned. And if the data is telling us that we should be aware of something that we should fix right away, it's an alert, and it goes into a different system. It's this type of technology that allows us to start cracking in the next rung of what marketing should do. So keeping that in the back of your mind. If you guys have any specific questions, happy to answer them. So guidance for 22. Everyone has already started to think about channels as not being, each channel being just one stage of the customer journey. I think every e-commerce business I've talked to this year has already challenged themselves on that to a certain degree. But I think it's at the point now that we just need to shatter that concept. You cannot continue to take channel-specific marketing strategies as your go-to. You have to start breaking past the channels into more holistic. And we understand that when you're not living within the guardrails of a Google Ads or a Facebook Ads, it gets hard to attribute and understand where things are successful, etc. You need a new framework that can kind of package it all together. So we're going to advise on that, and hopefully, like I said, hopefully there's a paradigm shift, a paradigmatic shift in the way you start planning for 22, because it's being forced on us by changes in the market. So let's talk about those changes a little bit first. Obviously, we know GDPR that happened in Europe. There was these privacy constraints in terms of what kind of data you can have. CCPA, California, continued to adopt some of those policies, even improve upon them a little bit, which basically put duress on everyone in the US to change their privacy policies. On top of that, the usage of the web dramatically increased during the pandemic, and at the same time, people started to understand that it's not the most private place to be. Your data is not as private as you thought it was. So sentiment really shifted. Of course, that's one of the pressures. Other changes that are forcing us to think differently about channels and stages of customer journey, for example, is the growth of YouTube, right? YouTube is now not an entertainment source because of innovations that Google has brought into YouTube. It's becoming a vital source of revenue and awareness. It's kind of changing where it lives in the customer journey. Our sister company, Grow by Data, does a lot of SERP studies, search engine ranking pages for you that don't know the acronym SERP. It's when you go to Google and you look at the first page, that real estate is the SERP. So we're seeing a lot of shifts in terms of what kind of modules show up in the SERPs. And it's not as if all shopping has the same modular structure. Even within a particular business, you can see the number of rankings that are articles versus category pages with lots of products or single products changes in the top 10 positions from one keyword to another just within a site alone. This is causing us to think about SEO in a different way as well. There's a whole new channel of communication and sales that just almost magically appeared out of nowhere. We were already utilizing our phones at a rate that outperforms desktop. But SMS is not just something that brands are adopting, users are adopting it and asking for it. Over 90% of users want their brands that they buy from to SMS them. When does that ever happen? The people actually want ads. They're asking for it. And the open rates are about 99%. Click-through rates are around 30%. We're seeing that Google has decided that it's not just your content game anymore. If you don't have the right user experience that is a focal point of all the channels and all your marketing, then they don't want you to be part of their rankings. And Core Vitals is a whole series of recommendations to make your page load faster. And there are luckily some go-to codes that are provided by Google that you can adopt to your site to get better Core Vital scores. So all your rankings go up. And coming up in early 22, there's going to be another page experience update. And Google has already provided a way for you to test your site through page experience report in the Search Console so you can get ahead of the penalty that will come out if you're not in line with it. And of course, every business I talk to is talking about supply chain now. So supply chain, we know the backlog at the ports. We know that cargo ships were stuck. But it's not just the supply. It's important to remember that the US has always been a service economy. And the shift that happened during the pandemic, the biggest shift that transformed our entire ecosystem financially is that goods are growing. Consumer goods are where people are spending more than on services in terms of trajectory of growth. In other words, there's more demand now than there has been in years. But it happens so quickly, and then a little constraint on the supply side, and all of a sudden we have this massive gap. So if we have to summarize the big problems that we're facing, one is more e-com, right? So the supply chain side, the increased demand, so bigger pie, and the entire digital transformation of brick and mortar businesses onto online. There's just so much more activity going on there, much tougher to compete. You have to find vacuums. You have to use channels in non-traditional ways for you to find a vacuum to exploit. Platforms have less valuable data because they can't do the same things they could do before with the iOS 14, etc. They just can't do what they were doing before. And in fact, they're all asking that you provide the data now, first-party data. You bring your data sets to Facebook, to Google Ads, and you start to tell Facebook and Google who you will remarket to. So if they're asking us to focus on our first-party data, it actually naturally is telling us that we can centralize strategy across all channels for the first time based on our data. They don't have that edge anymore. We have the edge. And of course, the customer journey is so much more complex than it was before. And I'll give a quick illustration. I like cooking, cook every day. I wanted new cookware. And I recently searched for best cookware. Came across a brand I'd never heard of before called Caraway. Went to the site, okay user experience. I learned a little bit. Saw some social validation that, authorities in the space had validated as pretty helpful. Cookware, it's doing things that most cookware can't do. Then I saw an Instagram video that followed me, or marketing, it followed me. I was super impressed by the functionality. Didn't realize what my imagination would do for me. And I still didn't buy. Saw some display ads after that with reinforced testimonials. And I said, let's buy. Now, all of this happened within 24 hours. Typical attribution channel. But man, if any one of the competitors to Caraway did half of what they do, or in half of the places trying to nurture me to sale, then within 24 hours, I would have already bought from someone else. If you're not in the entire customer journey, competing for every moment between the first engagement until the first conversion, then you've already lost the sale to someone who actually did the work. The solution is rather simple. It's time to deepen the customer journey. When I say deepen the customer journey, I mean more awareness, so go higher funnel, and also more advocacy, which is the absolute bottom of the funnel. But we'll challenge whether it should even be a funnel. We'll also challenge where channels should live within this journey. We have classic ideas of where email and SMS should be in the journey, for example. Or can you do awareness on Amazon? Well, channels have changed their capabilities throughout the course of 2021 and 2020 so that you can engage different parts of the funnel and break out of the classic use cases. And then, of course, build from first-party data out. So to illustrate, a framework is no longer really a funnel. Funnels are good. Flywheels are better. What you want to do is start to create a virtuous marketing cycle. And we're going to go into details on this. First step is simple, yet not enough people actually invest in awareness. Awareness is just more targeted people knowing about you, right? They're not ready to buy yet, but they're your perfect target. So you just want them to know who you are. Consideration is when someone is showing signs that they're actually looking to buy something. And you show up, you get at-bats with that traffic. What you do with that traffic until the first purchase is the conversion side. You got their attention, don't lose the sale. You have a lead, close it. The fourth part is now you've created customers. How do you get repeat purchases? How do you get them to buy from you over and over again? That's the loyalty side. And when loyalty hits a tipping point, it turns to advocacy, to evangelism. In the advocacy marketing cycle, you're trying to get more evangelists to bring you more customers, and therefore investing back into awareness, and it becomes a virtuous marketing cycle. And if you want to think about flywheels, like people look at Amazon's flywheel and whatnot, this is the flywheel that then drives more sales. Where there's an intersection is your part that you have to do outside of marketing, which is delight your customers with the right products and the right services, which happens at an intersection point right there at advocacy and loyalty. So we're going to go into details on all this, but just quick poll. Before we go into 22, when you ignore something that is critical, asking everyone to do a gut check and admit, where are you the weakest? Is it awareness? Investing in people who are not yet buying from you, but they probably will eventually. Is it that visibility in search, the consideration? Is it sticking with your buyers until they finally make the purchase? That's conversion. Is it getting more repeat purchases from your past customers? Or is it getting them to activate their advocacy on behalf of your brand? And the majority of you have already voted. I'm going to close this in 3, 2, 1. I'm not surprised that what seems to be the obvious place where everyone should invest awareness, the top of the funnel. That's where business starts. There are more people worried that they are not actually visible in the top of the funnel. Or maybe they thought that the top of the funnel wasn't as high as awareness. Then consideration, then conversion, and there's kind of a tie in loyalty and advocacy. All right. Well, good to know. We're going to give you guys 15 ideas that will help kind of change the way you see, hopefully, aiming for it to create a change in the way you see channels versus these parts of the virtuous marketing cycle. So these are things your competing brands are doing. These are things that our clients are doing. And they are channel bending ways to invest in this virtuous marketing cycle. I'm going to start off with awareness. So again, awareness is that more targeted people know about you. Okay? So Amazon's not typically a place where people build awareness. In fact, the capabilities weren't even there for a long time. But now it is there. You can actually do display ads on Amazon. And Amazon will give you some options to set up, but they will create the ads. They'll even figure out who to target. They'll give you good reporting on it, and you can set negatives on who to target. But the main concept here is that Amazon is finding people who are actively searching for the type of product that you have. And even though they're not the SERP, the Amazon SERP at that moment, they're bringing your ads into product pages and other aspects of other parts of Amazon, even other properties Amazon owns. Google was not happy that Facebook was the go-to place for awareness. If you looked at Facebook ads' trajectory in terms of revenue, it was off the charts. And why? Google and Amazon both realized something a few years ago, that businesses that have a high lifetime value were investing in awareness on Facebook. Google did something simple. They said, okay, well, we'll create the same exact ads. It'll show up on YouTube, it'll show up on Gmail, it'll show up in our Discover app on Android, and they're basically going to be Facebook ads running on our platform. In fact, this year, they made it easy for you to copy your Facebook ads just into Discover ads. You can control a little bit more in terms of who you're targeting based on search intent. So where Google, you typically consider consideration set. Now you go after awareness. And of course, email and SMS, which we often relegate to being this concept of just loyalty or advocacy, because first party data can be uploaded into Google, into Facebook, and is the fulcrum of competitive success in 22. You actually need to focus on building up at the top. I want to highlight Klaviyo's email sign up winner for 2020. The reason that this particular email sign up won was the high contrast between the gray background of the website and this poppy pop-up. The person actually called attention to the pop-up. They didn't want anyone to see anywhere else except for the pop-up itself. And it was one of the highest performing email acquisition pop-ups out of all Klaviyo's accounts. Now, we were working with Attentive on a webinar just a few weeks ago, and they shared some Pew Research data that there's a reason why you should first get people to sign up to your email, but immediately try to get everyone in your email to then sign up to your SMS. And the main reason is all that activity that happens on mobile, there's a better use case for messaging than email. Email is actually less of a use on phones. Only 87% of people use their email on phones versus 98% use phones for messaging. But of course, we showed the stats earlier. But you have to drive awareness-based email acquisition, and you should have an immediate track for SMS. So the same person who just gave you their email address now gives you their SMS. So start awareness on email and SMS all the way to the top. For consideration, more at bats with ready to buy traffic. So a few tricks to the trade here. One is sponsored brands video. Relatively new ad type on Amazon, seems to outperform every other ad type, including sponsored product ads on Amazon. You only pay per click. So you get all that visibility. There's only one video in the entire SERP. You get all that visibility in billboard space, and you only pay for the click, which is why it performs so well, because you get the click, you are priming people to convert because you've already promoted your product and explained the product, and now they're coming to buy the product. Another trick of the trade is the ranking algorithm in Amazon. So what allows you to rank high for keywords in Amazon has just upgraded from the A9 algorithm to the A10 algorithm. And the A10 algorithm now gives you credit. Your product will get better rankings for all of its keywords if that product is making sales from sources outside of Amazon ads. That includes Google search ads. So you can now run Google search ads to your Amazon listings. And by the way, you can now even track the Amazon sales through Google Ads, which you couldn't do before. So you're helping yourself rank better. You're actually getting attribution. This is going to be huge in 2022 because people are just learning that they can do this now. We are fans of smart shopping. We were not always fans of smart shopping. It is effective, but it doesn't give you strategic control over your Google shopping visibility. There are certain searches that matter a lot to your business. When someone types in your brand, when someone types in one of your competitors, and you believe a subsection of your products should show up for that search so you can kind of steal sales from your competitors. That's called conquesting. And of course, some really important discovery terms, non-branded terms. For those particular types of phrases, you probably want to rely on the classic Google Shopping, using a two-tier approach to your campaigns, where you have, for any product that is going to show up for a particular keyword, you put that product in a high priority campaign and a low priority campaign. And then you funnel your search terms downwards. We have probably 20 webinars at least on this subject. It's called search query funneling. Give you full detail on how to actually implement it. Nonetheless, you still got to do this in 22. Consideration, showing up for keywords that you want to be on the shelf for has a lot of overlap with SEO. But if you look at your rankings over the years, you might have found that your category pages or your product pages no longer rank the way they used to. If that's the case, here's a little bit of a rubric to fix that. At first, for your category page, you want to make sure you get a lot of keyword sources worth of data. So your Google Ads data, your Amazon, your competitors' rankings, your rankings. And you want to organize only keywords for the topic of the page and map it to the page, probably 15 to 20 keywords. The highest volume keywords in that set should go in the title. The second highest volume keywords in the H tag, and all the keywords in the body text. If you are writing category level or product selection page content, you should aim for 300 to 400 words of content. That is going to start to give you better scores for more keywords with Google. But you need to make sure you don't lose any of those points. So the way you lose points, one, if the content was duplicated, then your page is relegated thanks to an update that happened in 2008. If you have grammatical or spelling errors, then Panda will start to move you out of those top positions. If you've over-optimized for a single keyword, strung a lot of keywords together separated by commas in your body text, use too many crosslinks or too many bold tags, strong tags, then you're probably going to lose points for your keywords. But if you do all this correctly, guess what happens? About 25% of the keywords that you rank for on your page will rank on page 1 of Google. So typically, when we look at websites that we're not actively managing on the SEO side, people are ranking for 1% of their keywords on page 1, maybe as high as 10%, because they haven't followed the right rubric to rank for more keywords on page 1, therefore activating click activity and consideration activity. On the conversion side, YouTube, that typically is not seen as a revenue driver, but an awareness driver, is doing a really good job of catching steam in the conversion world. So now with video action, you can basically easily set up these dynamic video ads that include product feeds from Merchant Center. And when people have left your website, they will start to see the products in ads on YouTube, bringing them back to finish the purchase. It's a new feature. Very effective, especially because less people are using it and costs are low right now. We all know with iOS 14, most of our remarketing audiences for Facebook in the conversion world have been nullified. What most people don't know is that Facebook released a fix for it called CAPI. CAPI, or Conversions API, actually finds people from your website using secure practices creates remarketing audiences virtually the exact same way that you used to do it through Facebook Pixel before iOS 14, and allows you to create customized audiences and personalized ads just the way you could before iOS 14's update. So for those of you who are still trying to get yourselves together after iOS 14, well, Facebook's already created a fix for it. The last bit of advice on conversion is don't just keep activating ads without purpose. Your ads that you show your past visitors must serve particular purposes. For starters, you want to make sure that even if you don't get a sale, you have developed a micro moment of recall. There's two types of recall. Cognition, which is facts that people remember about your business, and affect, how people feel about your business. If when you look at your ads, you don't think that they're creating either cognitive recall or affect recall, then their ads are doing nothing to push people towards the final purchase. They're not achieving any milestones. We also note that when you're doing testing in your remarketing ads on Facebook or Google or email, usually people use any idea that they come across from any competitor that they're inspired from. And that's not really good marketing science. Behaviorally, there are 4 ways in which people make buying decisions, either spontaneously, socially, which means getting a lot of information from other people, methodically, which means looking at a checklist of information that they think is critical to make the decision, or competitively, assessing whether this purchase will make someone feel better about who they are. Your brand has a responsibility to find a lane so that the ads actually are building momentum with one particular type of behavior, as opposed to conflicting behaviors that may even cancel each other out. This is called personas, also known as temperaments. And it's a science that is about 5,000 years old, since ancient Egypt. And it's important to activate it the right way. Loyalty. How do you get repeat purchases? So some simple guidance here. First of all, your email and SMS, they have to carry a lot of heavy weight here. You want to make sure that the moment someone converts, there's a pre-established set of automated emails and SMS tracks that they will fall into. And you know the probability that they will actually activate again. So first is the welcome track. This is reintroducing the brand and building stronger cognitive and affect. The second is abandoned cart. This is if someone abandons cart, it's a reminder of what they looked at, maybe a top selling alternative to what they were looking at, and maybe coupons to get that purchase to finish. Browse abandonment is similar, but one idea that's worth testing is social proof. They abandoned the website because they didn't really know you. Well, if you can give them some social proof while they're abandoning, and give them a 15% off coupon, now you're trying to remind them that you're a legit business. And of course, a post-purchase series that is focused on driving repeat purchase. In the loyalty world, we now have to coordinate first-party data sets between email, SMS, Facebook, and Google. And there is a way to make sure that when you do your segmentation of your lists, your customer list, and apply it to Facebook or Google, that you apply it the right way. It's not just one master list. Things you want to think about. Separating the list in ways where you may want to target individuals separately. For example, you might have a holiday buyers list of people who bought from you in the past during Q4, so you can activate them more aggressively, separated from all your other customers. You may want to combine lists and segments with maybe recency or a custom interest. So think about how you will layer lists together with Facebook's capabilities or Google's capabilities. You want to have a whole list of exclusions. So for example, customers who have bought from you but have returned everything they've ever bought. And you also want to think about getting Facebook and Google to find similar audiences to your best customers. So maybe your highest repeat customers, maybe your highest spenders. And then you want to make sure you also think about activating loyalty programs, right? We just did a webinar with Loyalty Lion a few weeks ago, and they showed this amazing graph that if someone buys from you one time, the likelihood of purchase again is only 22%. But if you can do something to activate a second purchase, now that cohort of second purchasers are going to probably buy from you. 43% chance they're going to buy from you again. So loyalty programs do a lot. They give really good examples. One is a tiered benefit system, where when you earn enough points, you start to get benefits. Another is just points that can be redeemed. And a third is when you do enough with our business is going to do something for the world. Like giving one meal for a sheltered dog. So think about activating loyalty and don't just go after the most obvious, which is redeemable currency. Finally, we get to advocacy. We've been saying this for years. You have to always go through your hashtags and your reviews on Facebook and start to mark off and develop an entire library of your own UGC, user-generated content. And you want all of your email and SMS to ask for more of that UGC. Those campaigns yield phenomenal returns. For Amazon, getting your timing right for reviews and advocacy makes a big difference. In 2021, the biggest week for reviews was the beginning of the year. So we're a few weeks out. Make sure you're prepping yourself for more reviews. And now, luckily, there is a way to contact buyers who give you negative reviews. So this is going to be huge in the Amazon space. If someone gave you a bad review within the last 6 months, you can now reach out to them and start a conversation. Finally, last note on advocacy is your advocacy scores impact your SEO visibility all at the top. So your SEO rankings are based on lots of factors. One of the factors that has been coded into the algorithm since the late 90s is EAT, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. Now in 2018, Google amplified and clarified where they get these scores from. They look at your Amazon reviews. They do. Your Yelp reviews, your BBB. They actually check that. And your Google shopping reviews. So cultivating advocacy at what looks like the tail end of your funnel doesn't just bring you more customers. In the consideration part of your approach, also bolsters your rankings. So I'm going to get to questions now. Before I do, we have an offer. If you can't get your head wrapped around how you can put together this virtuous marketing cycle for your own business, we're going to offer it for you. We can do the work for you. And our entire planning process, which is free, starts off with a few different approaches. First, we study your business. We look into your founders, your genesis story. Why do you believe in your business? Why should we believe in your business? We look at whether your market is growing faster than you. What about your competitors? What are your competitors doing really well? And where is their overlap? We start making recommendations in the virtuous marketing cycle of where you are under investing in terms of dollars, where you're underperforming, what channels should be activated and where. We start to look at your brand conquesting and discovery. What happens when people type in your brand? What about your competitors' brands? Where are you weak on the discovery side? We start to judge. Are the points of cognition and affect visible in your ads? Have you chosen a persona? Social, methodical, competitive, or spontaneous? And are you doing a good job of being consistent with those personas across your channels? We look at your nurturing approach, your loyalty, your advocacy. We look at your Facebook ads. There's a way to do that. We look at your email. There's an easy way to check what anyone's email is. It's called mill.com. We look at your competitors' approaches. And then we make a summary, a proposal. We show you what reporting will look like from now on, what the team can do together, what the price point will be. And that's it. Going into questions, I just want to first ask this poll. Does anyone want to receive this free growth plan from Exclusive? Let us do the work. Let us bring our ideas to you and see how it overlaps with what you are thinking. Maybe we can crack the code through the guidance of our framework and our playbooks and our technology and our 450 plus clients, our 250 plus employees, our nearly 25 years in online retail. What have we learned that we can do for you? What do we observe that you're not doing for yourself? So I'm going to give everyone just a few more moments. Folks, if the answer is no, please do answer no. Please clarify for us. And I'm going to close this out in 3, 2, 1. All right. Thanks, folks. Let's go to questions. Colin, you said, have you heard or seen about recent improvements on Facebook iOS app ads? But I can't understand the rest of the question. It says with AEM other platform functionality. Can you just clarify? And in the meanwhile, K2 side, yep, we don't use Amazon. We are not a traditional retailer. We sell medical equipment. Do you have any experience with companies like ours? Yeah, we have a lot. 10 plus years worth of experience in similar businesses. We'd love to talk. Is there a retail opportunity on sites like Poshmark or other retail marketplaces? Phil, the concern isn't just where you should put your dollars, but the amount of control that you have on other marketplaces. We look at Walmart and eBay, for example. Both of them are emerging in terms of giving you control over your own ads. But we look at Walmart, for example, Walmart's cost per clicks are still too high. So products that have a low average order value don't actually work very well on Walmart. Establishing these rubrics is taking time, but we're still waiting also for eBay and Walmart and other marketplaces to give us more control over, when we've advertised for a month or two, but we see the data, give us control over optimizing it. Oh, aggregated event management or mixed media modeling. Yeah, Colin, we're seeing that first and foremost, Google Analytics as a neutral arbiter of the data is showing that Facebook's performance has not actually dropped as much as Facebook's reporting shows. So in Facebook itself, while the iOS change happened, there was a dramatic revamp to the reporting system and everyone's performance looked like it crashed. If you were watching analytics instead and you didn't make dramatic changes to your approach, you wouldn't have seen as much of a drop. We have a control of a few clients where we tried that, and that's giving us some confidence in that particular statement. Any other questions, folks? We technically still have 10 minutes. If anyone wants to ask any wild card or out there questions, hopefully this was helpful. And I know it's a lot to digest, but as you're thinking through your 2022 plans, maybe some of this is sinking in and you're not going to just plan the way you always have, but you're thinking about this virtuous marketing cycle and how you can activate it a little bit more. But with that, there's no other questions, folks. Happy remainder of your holidays. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, and hopefully we can connect sometime soon. Thank you for the 81% of you who said, let's talk either now or later. So that's awesome. We have a lot of conversations coming up. Thank you, folks. Bye, everyone.